Today we have Enrique Jevons with us. He's a real estate managing broker, investor, and property manager. He runs Jevons Property Managers, and they are based in Seattle. Thank you for being with us on our show today and taking time to being with us. So tell us a bit more regarding your background and why the real estate? Why did you get into real estate?
Sure. Well, let's see. A little bit of my background is that actually I got my degree in business administration and went into the hotel industry to start with. And so most of my career was actually in the hotel industry, some 20-some years. I worked for Hyatt Hotels and for Marriott. My most recent position was as a general manager with Marriott Hotels in Palo Alto, California. And then we had some family up in Washington State. And so we used to fly up every year to visit them. And the cost of real estate there was significantly less. It was maybe 25% of what the San Francisco Bay Area was in cost of real estate. And so it was something that we did have a rental at the time when we were in the Bay Area, in addition to the home that we owned. And so we knew we wanted to get into that. I wanted to progress. It was funny, in the hotel industry, I thought, oh, I've made it. I'm top dog. I'm the general manager.
Yeah.
But then I realized, realized it wasn't quite the case.
Yeah,
there's still the owner of the hotel that I had to report to. And so one of the things that came about in my transition over to real estate is reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, that book. And
that's a big one.
And then, talking about going from, a paycheck to owning your own business, to becoming an investor.
All about
I'm on that track. Yeah. So now I'm a business owner, but my next step I'm trying to go for is just to become the investor, just own the business, and invest in others, but try and progress to that.
How long do you have this company?
So for just over 9 years now. Was, when I left. I left Marriott and started my own business.
And how many units do you guys manage?
So right now we have 685 altogether. About 100 of those are ones that I personally own, and the other 585 are ones that I manage for other property owners.
But you said you're pursuing to become a full-time investor because you still don't have enough income to be completely off. Is this what you're saying?
Well, it's a matter of
how much is
good. Yeah, how much is enough?
Yeah. You're not like Clayton Morris says, like your freedom number. So.
Right. I probably could right now. I probably could step back right now and I would be okay. But what I figure is, I'm young enough and I have enough years ahead of me. I'm energetic enough that I'm still in it full time. So we'll see how that goes. But I have made investments just recently with 3 other companies, and so we'll see. Those now are long-term investments, and so I won't see that money for quite some time. But I am starting to try and go that direction.
I wanted to do this because, as you know, as an entrepreneur, and most people, I think all of us, we suffer from this time biases because it's like instant success to instant instant weight loss. But in reality, you don't go through all the messy stuff. And what I wanted to understand is how long did it actually take you to be from this hotel until you are actually now? So the time span until it kind of went through the break-even thing and then started to coming to make sense.
Yeah, when I left my hotel job, I had about I figured out that I had about 6 months to live off of. So 6 months one way. All right. So left. I bought, cashed out on the house that we had, the rental that we had. We purchased a 13-unit apartment building to start with, and for the first 3 years, as we're buying, it was tough. So it was definitely 3 years of just really nervous, anxious, really working hard, long hours. And in the beginning, I was out there, I was, cleaning every single vacant unit that I had, because, I was worried about spending money to, and I had a little more time available. So it was myself doing all the cleaning, doing the painting, getting the units ready, doing all the showings, all the bookkeeping, everything, 100% myself. So it took about 3 years, to answer your question, to get up and running to the point where I was comfortable. I've got a family of 5, so I've got 3 kids,
Wonderful.
and so I had a lot at stake there. I didn't want to be putting them at jeopardy. So it was about 3 years before I was finally comfortable.
And when you started doing this, did you like partner up with someone? Did you went all in by yourself?
No, I was lucky enough to go in all by myself, and the reason was because I had saved up enough money. We had always been putting money away into savings and into a retirement plan,
Okay.
and also because we owned our house in the San Francisco Bay Area for 15 years, and so the house had appreciated significantly in value, and so we were in the Bay Area. We were kind of cash poor but house rich.
Sure.
And
I understand.
so
I
and so
understand.
we cashed out, and that's what gave us the runway. That's what gave us the opportunity to do it by ourselves. If we hadn't, then certainly, yeah, would have had to have partnered up with somebody else to find the money.
And because would you say that property management is a business that is in demand, or do you think there's an oversupply and there's usually like this vertical integration of existing businesses that find the need to start property managing their own thing?
Property management is a tough business to get into. It's one of these businesses that has a very high barrier to entry.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is that it's hard to start and so that's good because it keeps the competition down.
Sure.
So it does require, in the United States, it requires a real estate license. Okay, so there's one hurdle. The not a big hurdle, but
Number
the
one.
thing is, yeah,
Okay.
is then so that's number one. The second part of it is that you're only making a percentage of the rents collected. It's just a small percentage, and so, or even if you charge a flat fee, it's going to be a minimal amount.
Sure.
So if after all expenses you're only making $10-20 per unit, and in the beginning maybe you only
Sure.
find 10 clients, you got 10 units, you can't live off of $200 a month, you starve to death.
Yeah.
And so that's what I mean by it's a high barrier to entry. It takes a long time to get started. Now, once you get up, so that's what, now it's 685 units.
Sure.
Okay, now, if I'm only making profit-wise $20 a unit, okay, now it's a pretty decent amount. And actually now the economies of scale help too. So
Sure.
Actually our profit margin gets better and better with the more units that we take on in management. So actually our profit margin is even larger than that. So
But
it works out well.
Hearing you say that would make sense if I was a property manager, I would only be accepting projects that would make sense for us, company financially. So it would make sense for you, from what you are saying, to only take projects that already have, well, you look at it and say, okay, we have economies of scale here, so we only take projects at like 100 plus units or something like that. This is what you're saying?
Well, ideally, yes, but the reality is, no, I still have a lot of owners that just have one single family home. So of those 685 units altogether, I have about 170 different owners. Okay, so that's like having 170 clients, right? Some of them are just one unit, and unfortunately, a bunch of them have a lot of units. In a perfect world, I would only take on properties with a lot of units,
because
you're right, economies of scale are better.
Yeah, it will allow you to grow. And do you have a relationship with outside investors? Let's say a European investor saying, okay, we have this project we want to invest. We have no eyes down in the terrain. We have absolutely no point of reference between street A and street B. So Do you provide this service to foreign investors?
About 90% of the property owners that we manage for live out of the area.
Okay, okay,
And
great.
that's probably their number one reason for hiring management companies, because they live out of the area. So about 90% live out of the area. Of those 90% that are actually foreign, maybe I would say about between 10-20% is a guess of mine, are people who are living abroad. And it's in all parts of the world.
So,
So there's, yeah.
a foreign investor, because we're doing this show, as you know, is just to help
Hmm. Yep.
outside investors out of the US to get into the multifamily business. And of course, you need partners you can trust. So this is
Yeah.
hearing you from your end to understand exactly what they would be expecting. So basically, you would be
Yeah.
collecting all the rents, taking care of all the messy stuff, and they only be collecting a check. This is what a property management company does, right?
Yeah, there's a lot to it. Probably the biggest part is enforcing the lease and making sure that the building is not getting destroyed, right? I mean,
Sure.
it's a huge investment, a huge asset. And so the number one thing is, keep the place intact. And then of course you want to bring in the income and make sure that, we're spending the owner's money wisely on repairs, that we're not, you know, sending an electrician every single time when a handyman can do the job just as well. And also making sure that if it's something that the tenant caused, that we're, getting the money back from the tenant, that we're billing the tenant and collecting back from them. So it's a lot more than just collecting the rent, and even collecting the rent is actually difficult, because you know what? Yeah, tenants start out
Yeah,
great, and then people get
sure.
divorced, and
Yeah.
then they have health, medical issues, calamities that come up, or they have a job loss, and these are all difficult, unexpected situations for the tenant, and so then it becomes, difficult for us, and that's where we really kick in and make sure that we work with the tenant and get the money.
But
So yeah, there's a lot to it.
as an investor, they would see a kind of a. How would they know exactly what's going on in their property? Do they get like a report
Yeah.
seeing exactly what's going? How does this process works? Can you explain a little bit?
Sure. So and one reason to make sure, as an investor, don't cut corners, don't try and
Sure,
skim.
sure,
My advice is make sure for sure that the person is licensed. So anywhere in the United States, you have to be licensed, which is a very good thing, because the Department of Real Estate Licensing, then actually audits the books periodically of all the real estate companies, and that's very important to make sure nobody's running off with your money. The other part of it then is, yes, that we're required to send out monthly reports, and so we actually send it out twice a month, but at minimum you would expect to receive a monthly report. On those reports, for us, there's three different types of reports. There's it's called the rent roll, which has the
sure.
name of all the tenants, their contact information, how much they're supposed to pay in rent, what they actually paid in rent, and how much of a security deposit we're holding for them. So you have that report. The next report you would always want to get is an income statement. Very basic, income statement showing all the money in, so rents, or there might be laundry machines or other types of income, and then all the expenses, any repairs. You might have also, insurance, taxes, utilities, any other type of expense, and then our management fee, and then with that you would be able to see then your net profit. Okay, the third report we send out is more like a checkbook register. So it's going to show every single payment received and every single payment that went out, and who got that money, who received that check. So those are the three reports that we produce. The other thing we do are inspections, which is very important to owners, to make sure that the property is being cared for. And with that is the beautiful thing now, thank goodness, is digital pictures. And so there's no excuses anymore
Sure.
not to take hundreds of pictures. And
Sure.
so that's the big part of it too, is make sure you always demand pictures. And so, yeah, we're always taking, pictures from before the tenant moved in, then periodic inspections when the tenant's living there, and then pictures when they move out. Get the place fixed up and then start all over again. So those are all the important things. But with all that, with your financial reports, with your pictures, that's how you can be assured that that the place is still standing and doing well.
But let's say John and Mary got married, they're super happy, and now they live on 2B on your property. My question now is, they're now starting to not understand each other very well,
Yeah, right.
screaming and shouting all over the place, and then John and
Yeah,
Mary decide to call the quits. As an
right.
investor, you don't know what's going on with John and Mary, as you, I would guess. So, uh, that unit is now vacant because they went their separate ways. My question
Yeah.
now is how can a property manager step in and get the vacant unit up to place and another guy in it?
Well, okay. So the other nice thing about having a lot of units for us is then we've got vendors, how cleaning companies, a handyman, plumbers, electricians. We have them, a lot of them that are just working, for us.
Okay,
So that's the beauty of it, is that we can control their schedules, and because they want the repeat business, they're going to
sure.
do a good job, and because we're keeping them employed full time. All right. So yeah. So, well, somebody moves out. We go in, we document everything, take pictures of how they left it. We always, of course, have a security deposit on hold, so that any they have to leave the place exactly the way they found it, is the
Sure,
criteria.
sure,
All right. So anything that we got to pay, a housekeeper. So we do, of course, all the scheduling and the sending out, and then the supervising of all the people. So we go out, photograph, we assign all the work, it gets done. We go back, make sure it was done properly, take all new photographs again. We then send all the bills for anything that wasn't normal wear and tear. We send a bill, we deduct the money from the security deposit, and then we send them a refund for whatever remaining portion they might have. And if the charges went over what the security deposit is, we send it to them. They have 10 days to pay. And if they don't, then we send them to a collections agency to try and recover the money that way. The normal wear and tear, the owner ends up having to pay for, if the carpet's
sure.
10 years old and that sort of thing.
But
But
do you make sure then you can fill in the vacant unit or this?
yeah, oh yeah. So for us, again, a bunch of units, we are always advertising 100%, the time, 365 days a year, we're advertising that we've got properties available. And the reality is we've always got something available, or we've got something coming up. So then we don't have, let's say somebody's looking for a 4-bedroom house by the lake, and we don't have that right at the moment. We'll take their name, we put it on our wait list, and as soon as it becomes available, we contact them, let them know, okay, you know what, somebody just gave notice, and it's going to be available at the end of this month. We do the showings, make arrangements with the current tenants to go show the property. We then go do the showings for the prospective applicants. We do all the background checks, everything like that. So yeah, getting the unit filled fast, doing that turnaround fast, as fast as possible, is obviously very important, because just like when I was in the hotel industry, every single night that goes by, if there's a bed unfilled, that's money lost forever. It's just the same as the airline industry. If there's a seat on that flight that goes empty, that's the reason why they discount. Everybody pays a different rate, because
Sure,
they
sure.
got to get those seats filled. It's the same with us, and all of my staff knows that, time is money. And so we got to get these places, fixed up, cleaned up fast, and turned around fast,
And
and get
what's the
somebody there.
usual? And I know, of course, it's always
Mhm.
different. But If you could average it out in this particular scenario, what's the usual time span in between a vacant unit and getting someone in again?
Yeah. Our average is about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks is the average. Yeah. And so part of that time is in the cleaning and getting the unit ready. And then part of it is also that not every tenant is ready to move in exactly that same day that it becomes available. And so that's where the average is 2 weeks. So if and the average, so like if you're budgeting, you're looking at a property, you want to determine the average vacancy rate that you want to plug into your equation is going to be between 5 and 10%. So 10% if it's kind of more of a rural area with a smaller, smaller location, smaller city. If it's a larger city where demand is very high, then 5% is fine. And the reason I say 5% is because it's not necessarily that the unit is vacant, but also you have to build in the fact that not everybody pays 100% of the time. And so if you end up kicking somebody out, you're going to have a month of lost rent. And so on the average, 5% in a busy area, 10% in a slow area.
So we're looking, of course, at stabilized properties, and it's a B-type property. This is the typical target that we're talking about here.
Yeah, and so then the range is, if you're talking about, like a C, a lower income. If you're talking about a lower income property, lower income locations, then you're going to have to account for more maintenance costs. Usually the buildings are, not as good condition. They're older buildings, and so you're going to have higher maintenance costs. Maintenance typically runs about 5% of the gross rents. All right, but it's going to be on the higher side for the low income stuff, and it's going to be much lower for the upper income location. So if you have a nice new house and it's an upper income area, you might go an entire year without a single maintenance request. And you might, and the person, definitely higher income locations, they're more apt to pay.
Sure, makes sense.
They get divorced too, and they have their medical problems too, but
sure. Not so that, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, but on the whole, they do much better.
Sure. Tell me one thing. All your properties, do you have like it's all within the same range, or do you have like completely separated in out of state properties, and you yourself are situated where you are?
Yeah. We run the full spectrum. So I've got houses that are over 3,000 square feet on a golf course by a lake that are just in a gated community, incredibly beautiful properties, just amazingly beautiful properties. All right. And then I've got it where it runs all the way down to, we actually have a mobile home park that we're managing. Okay. And in the mobile home park, it is where these poor little mobile homes are almost like made out of cardboard and tin.
Yeah, I know.
That's the other extreme. So we have the two extremes, but the reality is a lot of it's the same. The paperwork is the same. It's just dealing with the clientele is different, and so you have to be able to both talk to a highly educated, doctor, physician, software engineer, and at the same time, the next person who walks in the door is somebody who has absolutely no education, and so therefore has horrible coping skills, and that's where you get in these lower income apartment buildings where they just don't know how to get along very well. So they can be very difficult. Now, those, of course, are the buildings where oftentimes they're cash cows because as a result, there's fewer people who want to invest in those properties. So then those properties end up being cheaper to purchase, sure. Right? Because they're so difficult to manage. Sure. So that's where your cash cows. So then it becomes up to the investor. Do you want to have a lot going on, kind of high risk, high reward? or do you want to just go with the safe, but it's not going to produce, much of a return with the higher end property?
So it's Enrique. Looks like your business is doing well, and you have this thing covered. Where do you see your company in the next, let's say, 5 years? Where do you see your goals regarding your property management company?
We're growing at a little over 50 units a year right now is our growth pattern. So I do expect net growth, is because sometimes we sell properties, or the owners will sell property.
Sure. Understood.
So the net growth of about 50 units. So definitely continuing to grow. We're in the state of Washington, and so for sure we're expanding within the state of Washington. I've connected with a group of software engineers, and we've produced now a research tool, a website that is available for real estate investors. Right now it's for the Seattle, Washington area.
Okay.
But that software program, we expect to go nationwide with it. So that's one of the investments that I've made, and that seems to be going really well. So hopefully, yeah, very big things coming up.
And regarding your investments, regarding your own personal side of it, what type of deals, deal size, what type of thing are you looking at?
Okay, everything that I'm doing, 100% of everything that I'm doing is buying. And I buy with cash using a line of credits now. So now I have these line of credits based on equity that I have in the properties that I currently own.
Sure.
All right. So then I kind of pool all those small little bits, line of credits, pull them together, and then I can write a check and I can buy a property with cash. So that cuts down on my closing costs significantly. I then go in and will rehab the unit, get it fixed up, get the rents up. Once I'm able to get the rents up, then I'll go approach a bank and get a conventional loan on it. If it's so in the United States, if it's 1 to 4 units, you can get a conventional residential bank loan.
Sure.
If it's
five
units or it's a commercial loan, yeah, just means it runs typically 1 percentage point higher on the commercial. Is really the basic difference. So then I'll refinance it, pull all that cash out. Typically, I'm able to get most all, if not all, and sometimes even more than what I put into it. So then it becomes a no money down, and sometimes I get more cash back than what I went into it. If I'm able to get the rents up high enough, and so get all the money back, and then I'm able to go do it again. And so I typically right now I've got 3 of those projects.
And how many units each? How many units each?
One is a 4-plex, and I just finished up on refinancing the 4-plex. I have a single-family home that I'm just about finished with the rehab. That was one that I purchased at auction. And it's a nice big house, a 4-bed, 2-bath, large single-family home. Then I've also got I bought it as a 4-plex, but I added a 5th unit to it, and another unit expanded quite a bit. And so now it's a 5-plex, and right now I'm going through the whole loan application part of it.
But it's a C2B value add play, or what are you looking specifically in the property? Well, run us through a deal that you really like a typical deal that you look at and say, this is my type of deal.
Yeah. Okay. So the deals that I'm doing are the stuff that I'm doing is predominantly, I would say, on the side, because for me it's more affordable, it cash flows better, and I'm willing to work with that clientele is fine with me. So it would be typically I would say $200,000 cash.
Okay.
For the purchase, and that would be a 4-plex. So a 4-plex, $200,000 cash. I would then get the rents up, get it, probably put in usually about 10% of the value, so $20,000 cash in rehabbing it. And then I would be able to get the rents up to where the gross rents would be about $2,400, and which would then get the property value to be about $240,000. So in my area, it's about 1% of the, what I'm looking for is properties where the gross rents, monthly rents, equal 1% of the value of the property. So 2,400 in rents will get a valuation of $240,000. So then I pull the, I'll do a conventional loan on that, leave 20% equity in on 240,000, and pull 80% back out.
And how many, when you're looking at a deal, how much are you looking to net per unit? Would you say it's like 100?
So then, yeah. So when I purchase it at $200,000, those rents are usually $500 a month rents. By rehabbing, fixing up a little, I can get, let's say, 600. So not get the value up a little bit.
Sure.
To where the rents become $600 in rents.
So you could net, what you're saying, you could net $100 per unit.
Yeah. So I try and get the rents up $100. That allows me to refi it for a much higher value, and that allows me to get my money back out again. And then go do it again.
But you're talking about already tenants already in it, or it's vacant, and then you.
I prefer with tenants in it only when I go to purchase something, only because that assures me a couple of things. It assures me that the place is livable, and
Sure.
It does assure me that there's an immediate income.
Okay.
Now, I do still buy with vacant units because sometimes it's a great opportunity, but of course I beat down the seller because, let's say, for example, a $200,000 property, 4 units, $500 rents. All right, if the place is full, then I know it's worth it.
Sure.
If the place is half empty, if 2 of the units are vacant, now I got to wonder why. Why would a seller be selling when the vacancies are unit? And so I'll tell them, I can't give you full value for a place that's half empty
because I'm gonna units, right?
Yeah, that's a high risk. I don't. Why is it vacant? Is it, maybe there's something really bad or wrong about the place, they can't get it rented out. So I'll beat down the seller pretty good on anything that's vacant. But if I can get it down, then yeah, then I'll still purchase it.
And what's a typical holding period for each property that you have? You're looking to sell it after some years? You're looking to buy and hold forever?
For me personally, I'm forever. So the idea is that I'm going to pass these down to my kids.
In your area, do you think there's still a demand for the area that you're at, or do you think there would be other interesting areas like the Midwest or the Sun Belt area? Some other. What would you recommend an outside investor to start looking at?
Yeah, so definitely the Midwest, Sun Belt area of the United States, that's actually where you're probably going to get your highest return. And those are the areas where for what you purchase, you're going to be able to get even up to like a 2% of the rents versus the purchase price. And so that's where you're most likely going to get your highest return on investment. You run a little higher risk, so it is the whole risk reward thing. And the reason I say that is because those are areas where if the economy starts to turn, those are the areas where, the economics are a little bit less than the coastal areas. So, with the East Coast, New York, the West Coast, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, all those areas, if there's a recession and such, those are going to be the last hit, you know, if they get hit really at all. So it's more the middle that gets hit a little bit. However, everybody needs a place to live, and then also the safer bets, in my opinion, are also on the lower end, the lower, a little bit on the lower income stuff, because if there is a recession, it's the more expensive places that get hit hardest first. Everybody still needs a place to live, and so people might, you know, trade down in what they're purchasing or renting, but they're still going to need a place to live. So and the United States is very safe as far as real estate goes, because the, you know, long tradition of it being all private investors. You don't have to worry about the government coming in and taking away anybody's real estate.
Enrique, all of us as business people, we have horror stories regarding our own mistakes, because our own imperfections of the way that we perceive things regarding our own logic. Can you tell us regarding your worst,
Yeah.
One of the worst mistakes you made in business, and one of the experiences that you came out of it and saying never going to do that ever again? Can you share with us?
Yeah, the worst purchase I ever made was actually on my own single family home when I moved, because when I left the Bay Area, I felt like I was flush with money. I felt like, you know, I had all this money. And so granted, I took most of it and started putting it into investment properties, but at the same time, I built my own single family home from the ground up. Nice, big, beautiful, everything I had always wanted type of a house. And essentially what I did was I overpaid for it. So
Okay.
I let my emotions get away from me there. So now, since then, we tried to sell it. It didn't sell. So now we're in the process of refinancing that property. We've moved out of it now, 9 years later, and we're now in a home that is just more suited in a nicer area, but maybe not as big of a home. So that was it. Was letting my emotions get away with me, and that was the only bad investment that I could say we made. All the rest have worked out extremely well.
And regarding, if you're looking for properties for to pass to your own kids, I would guess that you would be putting some extra work regarding understanding exactly if this is a type of property to hold forever. So what I would like to know is, what's the typical time that you use in order to look at a property and making your decision? It's like a couple of minutes now, or it takes you like a month in order to decide if you are going to do it or not?
No, you got to be able to move fast. So the thing is, you got to, like, in my opinion, what I do is I focus on a particular region. You know, so for me, it's Washington State. Okay, so I'm focused on Washington State. Every time I start, you know, I hear all these great returns that people are getting in the Midwest and such. And I think, oh, I should go by there. But then what I start to realize is then I kind of lose focus. And so what I would say is pick an area that that looks good to you and stay focused on that area. Research that area constantly, so that as soon as you see something come available, you can, you know, move on it, jump on it right away, immediately jump on it.
Because you have your own criteria. You have your own criteria already established.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to, establish your criteria, figure out your area. Also, I would highly recommend who you're going to work with. So, you know, before you're researching the area, but then you need to find a company that you're going to work with. Find your team. You know, put together your team. Your real estate agent, your property manager. So you get your team in place and ready to go, so that as soon as you see something, they can jump on it, move fast, and get it done. Because if it's a good investment, you're going to run into a lot of competition.
Yeah, it makes sense because usually these types of deals, I would guess that you wouldn't be looking at them at LoopNet unless something went wrong and nobody wants them anymore. So these usually are off-market deals, right?
Yeah, a lot of outright, but I still find deals on the market, and sometimes it's because it was listed poorly. And what I mean by that
Okay.
is not every single real estate agent is brilliant, and so sometimes I see some goofy
Property
stuff.
price.
So
Okay.
sometimes it may, yeah, yeah. So sometimes it's just it's priced badly or it's listed badly or there's something that people
Okay.
see they don't like, they stay away from it, but the reality is that it's a good buy. So I wouldn't totally discount the fact that something is listed does not mean that it's a bad buy.
Okay, gotcha.
And also, you got to always look at the listings to have a good feel for what the market values are, so that when you find your off-market deal, you know it's a good deal, because that's the other side, is that just because it's an off-market deal does not automatically make it a good deal. So you have to always keep your eye on everything and what's out there, so that when you see something good, you can recognize it and realize, yeah, no, this one's a good deal.
But besides this, how do you get your deal flow? Do you do some direct mail? Do you use some brokers? What do you use besides these cases? What do you do on a consistent basis in order to get some deal flow before you can do your own analysis?
Yeah, in the beginning, for me, it was looking on the MLS and seeing, what was available. Over time, what's happened is now I've established a reputation in the area as being available as somebody who can close fast. So reputation definitely is extremely important,
Sure.
and the ability to close fast. And so now, as I mentioned, I use line of credit. And so that's what gives me a huge leverage to buy and buy fast. And also because I know the area well, that means now I'm a very decisive person. And so when I get a phone call, either from a wholesaler, I get a phone call from, or getting from an attorney who's got a property, their client passed away and they got to get rid of it, type of a thing. They need to settle the estate. And when an attorney's holding on to a piece of property, he's got to settle the estate. He's not getting paid until that estate settles. He doesn't care how much, it really goes for. He doesn't want to be involved in showings.
Sure.
So he calls people that he knows can get it done immediately. So I'll get a call, and, based on the address, also because I've got inspectors in my area, is I just send my inspector out while I'm talking on the phone to the person, and I tell him, you know what? Yeah, let me give you a call back in an hour, and I'll give you a yes or no decision. So hold off, don't call anybody else. Give me 1 hour, and I'm going to tell you yes or no, and then I'm going to close today with you. We'll do the paperwork today, and with the attorney, and they can close it the same day, and by the following day, I've got a check to them. So that kind of reputation, really helps in being able to get things done. So that takes a little bit of time. So in the beginning, you got to find out the people who get it done. And so you want to find out, based on their reputation. So you're going to look for who's killing it in that area. Now, if you live remotely, you don't live in the area and you don't know, you don't have family or friends in the area to know who's killing it. Look at the listings in the area. So whether it's LoopNet, it's the MLS, look for the listings and see what is the one broker, real estate agent, who is listing all these properties. And if you can see, like, wow, there's this one broker he's got most all of the listings for this area, then you know what? That's an experienced broker. That's going to be the person you're going to want to deal with. Don't work with somebody that has nothing going on. Because they're just
I did that. I'm a cold call guy comes with the marathon and the Ironman, you would guess. So it's all about the hustle. So I called the guys in Kansas City because I'm looking at properties in Kansas, and I did exactly that. I did exactly that. I looked at, if I was a broker, I would be showing that I can do my homework and I have a lot of stuff to sell. So I called him, and the next day now I'm on the buyers list. Now,
perfect.
Yeah, because I just said, look, this is the first investment that we are making. I'm not looking to waste any of your time. We will get into a deal if you keep us informed what you have, because if as soon as the numbers make sense, we'll get in. And it's like cold call from, you see, plus 351, a number this big, and then a guy cold calling, telling him that, and he said, okay. The next day, so that's I understand where you're coming from. This makes sense.
Getting those relationships lined up in advance. Exactly, that's it. Is get that relationship lined up in advance. So now you've got your guy in Kansas City. That's a great place to invest in for sure. And so now you've got that person lined up. Next, you got make sure that you have your finances lined up. So you don't want to like find the deal first and then all of a sudden you're running around thinking, oh my gosh, where am I going to get the money from? So you got to, establish relationships with your bank, with money. And, really banks are people too. and really it's all about relationships. And so, I have this just wonderful relationship with the branch manager there's 3 different banks that I use on a regular basis. And so, I just keep the relationships going with each one of them. I also my recommendation is go with smaller banks. I find them easier to work with, and they're more willing, in my opinion, to lend also on smaller things. The difficulty you get with the national banks, the Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America, the big ones, is really they're looking to work with the big corporations. If you're coming with, your small little single family home, your 4-plex, your 10-unit apartment building,
they're not interested.
You're just the little fish to them, and you want to be the big fish.
Sure.
So you go for the smaller local bank.
And you have the same homework looking at a 1-unit deal or 100+ unit deal. You still have to run through the numbers and make some calls. So it's the same thing. And plus, I'll guess that you would be providing an opportunity to investors, because it's kind of nets much higher, so they can come on board and make sense for them. So it's always looking about the opportunity and establishing the relationships. I understand that. Definitely. Tell us to finish our talk today. Tell us some of your favorite 5 favorite books.
Oh my God, 5 favorite books. Yes. Okay. So the very first one that made the biggest impact was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read it a long time ago, but I read it several times over. Yeah. And I did actually implement everything that that he's talked about in the book. So not only did I read it, I actually followed through on all the advice there. Yeah, there are other I like other books are The Millionaire Next Door. All the books right now that I'm reading are all, financial too books. There's also The One Thing.
Gary Keller.
Yep.
Gary Keller.
Yeah. So the one thing that I find a very helpful book. The 4-Hour Workweek. So the 4-Hour Workweek.
Tim Ferriss. I got that one as well.
Yep, with Tim Ferriss. So that one I've also put to use. I actually started working with virtual assistants before I read the book, and then read the book because of my interest in it. But I'm also trying to implement all of the things that Tim Ferriss talks about in his book, the 4-Hour Workweek. So I like that one as well. And then The Millionaire Real Estate Investor was one I read a long time ago now too. I can't say that's had as much of an impact, but I enjoyed, that book was a good one as well. So
how can our listeners get a hold of you, get in contact with you, reach you out?
Sure. So to find me, one, you can just do a search my name. So Enrique Jevons. Just do a Google search.
Sure.
Find me, all right.
Plus on Bigger Pockets as well. You're quite big there
yeah,
as well.
Bigger Pockets. So you can definitely find me on Bigger Pockets. And the other place that you can find me is on pelago.com, and I would suggest that website is it's a website. It's a research tool for specifically mostly for flippers. So if you're an individual who's interested in flipping in areas where the appreciation is through the roof, and so as a result, just actually buy and hold on to it. Even if you don't do anything, you're going to make money. But if you fix it up a little bit, then you make a lot more money. Pellego.com. That's Pellego. Pellego.com. It's a free website. You can find me on that website if you dig deep enough on the landlord section of it, on the property management side of it. But that website's a great website for anybody who's interested in buying and selling real estate.
Enrique, it was a pleasure having you with us today. So have a nice one. I hope to speak with you soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye now.